r/askreddit, what is a telltale sign that someone is a selfish person? Littering. Just to add this, they keep their space quite clean, but anything common is where they litter. Littering, and they have that superpower to lead everything back to themselves. Even when you're actually talking about your own life or a specific problem of yours, they somehow make it that you start talking about them instead without even changing the topic. Complaining at work to co-workers doing your work for you while you complain. Honestly, complaining about co-workers is pretty much part of my job. We just call it peer reviews. Cliché answer, but I have found the return the shopping cart test to be pretty accurate. It is such a small thing, but it does tell you if a person thinks small things like that matter. This is my favorite armchair measure of good person. There is absolutely no benefit to you as the trolley returner, but there is loss to others if you don't. There's also no immediate human association like with how you treat a server or retail employee. Just raw, are you thinking about the other guy? For me, it's people who listen to loud TikTok in public, especially in relatively silent places. There is a guy that hangs out in my favorite bar. Doesn't talk much and stays to himself, but he sits for hours watching videos on his phone with the volume on. It's the most obnoxious thing ever. Bartenders finally told him to turn the volume off or stop watching. He was 100% oblivious to the fact that no one else in the place wanted to hear that shit. When every single bad thing that happens to another person gets spun around into their personal problem, e.g. I'm really upset because my family member is going through X. When they always play the victim card. 99% of the time they only place themselves in the victim seat by ignoring all the effort or cost other people have to endure and only focus on what they go through themselves. They bring nothing to the potluck but are first in line. When they think everything is a competition. I had a girl pull my sleeve up once and saw my old cuts, then blurted out, "I have way more than you." Nah VC, that's crazy, especially if you guys weren't friends or something, where it was like a running joke. Girl noticed mine once and said, "OMG same E," and then something along the lines of cutting gang. They don't remember the times people helped them, but remember clearly all the times they have helped others. Poor listener. So anyway, doesn't think they're wrong in the slightest bit. They can't shoulder any bit of responsibility. A visible exoskeleton. Edit, oh, selfish. And that friend is too busy to care for my needs. Can you believe they didn't text me back immediately? Crayop people. If they refuse to take responsibility for their actions. They never admit when they are wrong even if there is physical evidence. Legit, they often say it straight up. Like it's self-care. When they monologue at you. Every conversation is just them performing and everyone else is just part of the audience. Combative comparisons. This is what I call it when someone always has a response to what you are talking about that somehow always seems to one-up you. It doesn't matter what you are talking about. Somehow, they always have a better or worse story that puts yours aside. It's intended to invalidate what you are speaking about and remove the attention from you onto them. Pay close attention to people who practice this malicious style of conversation. You will be glad you made note of it, as usually this is not only selfish, but very narcissistic in nature. People who always talk about money or the grind. Usually they will sell you out in a heartbeat or take advantage of others for money, which is pretty selfish. They throw other people under the bus so fast you'll get whiplash if you stand too close. Whether to save themselves or to humiliate the competition. No self-accounting at all. Creating or opening Reddit threads on selfishness to find out if it's really them that's the problem or if Marissa's actually totally full of shit. I can't believe you, Marissa. Conversations don't feel like conversations. They are one-sided talks about what they want, their thoughts, their life, their priorities, etc. When you are able to slip a word in, your words are used as transitions in their dialogue. No matter how you format your words, they all just add to the plot of their story. What you say and what you do are pawns in their game to be manipulated in a way that belittles your experiences, actions, opinions, and choices. Fuck Marissa. When they are unable to see beyond their own needs and feelings, and aren't capable of recognizing when they're impacting the people around them in negative ways. Another sign of a selfish person is when they're driven only by their own self-interests, and don't care about how their actions might affect others. Pay attention to how much they interrupt you, or you'll say something that's pretty important and they'll go okay and then talk about something else. This isn't always a sign of selfishness, it could be ADHD, habit they don't know they're doing, or they just don't gel with you. One of my workmates had her drink taken from the fridge by someone else. When she put up a sign on the fridge to remind people not to take things, another guy asked her why she was doing it. She explained her drink was taken, and without skipping a beat he said, "Oh yeah, that's because someone took mine." So not only willing admitting to doing JT, but his justification was that someone did it to him. So yeah, I'd say that when you're having a conversation with someone and they are merely waiting for their turn to talk, maybe, just maybe, you are selfish in this scenario, talking non-stop about yourself, and when they want to stay at least somewhat in the conversation, they really do need to start talking every single time you give them a nanosecond window of opportunity. Or, you know, they really are selfish. They want to dig up your dead dog to use the skull for taxidermy purposes and is insistent on doing it despite your objections. When they go out clubbing or something, and bring their friends back home to continue the party at 2 a.m. However, he lives in a house share and his roommates have to go to work in the morning. Ever since I told him to break up the party and that it isn't appropriate, especially since he didn't mention to anyone that he decided to have a 2 a.m. Wednesday night party. He complied, but ever since then he's been unpleasant and unfriendly with me. Cunt. Someone who always puts themselves first and disregards the feelings of others is a telltale sign of being selfish. This sounds like a test answer for an alien quiz on human emotions. I see you've met my manager. Dude, this is a definition, not a sign. Isn't that basically the definition of selfish? When you have a conversation about something in your life, finish what you have to say, then the other person says nothing about that and completely changes the subject. If you ask how are you, and they can't even be bothered to ask you the same. The way they drive. If they always talk about themselves. I know many people that will just not shut up about their day an entire call, then just leave when you start talking about yours. If you are in a group and there is one person that is constantly interrupting the middle of what you or anyone else is saying, generally to brag about themselves with a one-upper story, is generally a precursor to stop associating with them. I've met too many of them in my days, and they are more often than not happy to throw you under the bus whenever the opportunity arises. The 11 Arab type. You say you've been in Tenerife and they say that's cool, but they visited 11 Arab.